80% of our business still to this day is Gen Z or millennial. And so I don't know the one after Gen Z. Those folks are ready to work yet. But anyway, so we always stayed young. So like the unfortunate part of it is that I got a sniff and that's all I needed. And we went from 2 locations to 8 locations inside of 18 months. And that was, so we had, and at that time we got to 5 locations. We had 2 CSRs.
Yo, Joshua, really fast. I want to talk about online scheduling for the trades and how they should be affordable, effective, and easy to manage. Let's take a really quick second here to share a little bit about the latest group of experts that we've teamed up with, Autobot.ai. Our team of industry experts has developed a best-in-class scheduling app that seamlessly integrates with your CRM. Every booked job goes directly into your software and becomes one of our advanced marketing analytics, which is really cool. We can automatically select the marketing campaign of your choice based on how the customer came to your site.
Yeah, Tersh, those industry-leading analytics tells you everything that you're going to want to know about your lead, where they came from, what they did before scheduling, and what page they converted on, plus other things. On average, about 75% of people who start a booking with our app complete it, but we'll give you a more granular reporting that shows conversion rates based on marketing source and medium to help improve your marketing efforts.
So honestly, with no contracts, affordable monthly rates, and you really don't have anything to lose. And so it's a great program to try out. And if you use SBM, when you go to sign up for it, you'll actually save $1,500 on the setup fees. So honestly, give it a shot. Tell us what you think.
Today's episode is powered by Rilla Voice.
Rilla has taken those cumbersome, time-consuming ride-alongs and streamlined the entire process by leveraging AI technology to do dozens or hundreds of ride-alongs virtually every single day.
They also provide you, the owner or manager, with the top performers KPI metrics designed easily for you to coach your team into rock stars.
Schedule a demo today at www.rilla.com.
I want to give a huge shout out to Marcus Storm for sponsoring today's episode.
You've heard of Google ads, Facebook ads, and SEO, but did you know that there's an entire ecosystem, like 80% of the internet, that ads can be served on that you barely heard about?
That's where Marcus Storm operates.
They leverage data science and AI to build customer profiles for your ideal customers and get your ads in front of prospects before they are ready to hire a pro, planting your brand in their minds early and often.
To chat with a team about how they can help you grow your business, visit marcusstorm.ai.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett, sitting virtually next to my co-host, Joshua Crouch. And we have Austin Helms on the show today. And we are actually going to talk about the Boston event for Service Nation. And Austin is going to be the keynote speaker there. And so we wanted to get Austin on the show and ask him some questions and kind of get his take on Service Nation in general, and also
he's got some interesting background for his entrepreneurial journey. Sorry, I'm on vacation, so if words don't come out of my mouth, it's because I haven't really done much thinking the last couple of days.
Sound like me.
Now I know what you feel like every day. But we're going to talk about his entrepreneurial journey and things like that. I think it's going to tie in really well. And this Boston Education Summit is kind of something new that Service Nation is putting on, and it's kind of an interesting event. It's not like your typical expo where a lot of people equate Service Nation to like Service World Expo, where it's a lot about vendors and networking there. And this is going to be very just strictly educational. So we're excited to talk about that today.
So welcome to the show, Austin.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. For those who don't know you, can you give a little background of yourself and how you got to where you're at right now?
Yeah, for sure. I'm from Western North Carolina, a small little town called Valdez. Went to UNC Chapel Hill, graduated in 2016, went to the business school there. Been an entrepreneur since I was 7 years old. I sold candy out of a shoebox at my sister's basketball games. Had made homemade bows and arrows, sold those on the street.
What was it about stuff like that? I mean, because as a kid, like sometimes every once in a while we hear those stories, and sometimes it's like a quick on again, off again thing. But it sounds like this is something that, like, did you just like making money, your own money when you were young, or was there something that really pushed you that way?
I think so. I think for my mom and dad, my mom was a school teacher, and my dad was like just an IT professional at a small town hall, so nothing too crazy. So like we were not poor, but we didn't have money. Outback was a luxury to us. and which is ironic. Now we do a lot of Outback servicing in North Carolina.
That's funny.
But I really, a lot of people ask me that. I think it was, my entire genealogy has been teachers or furniture workers. I like to work hard, and I just I didn't like asking my parents for money. Like, I remember I hated asking them for money so much. I asked them, like, instead of, can I have $20? Hey, can you teach me how to make money? And my dad taught me how to wash a car when I was 12, and Austin Amazing Car Wash was born. And that's probably when I had like the first sniff at success. I started that when I was 12 years old, did like $800 in the summer. And then when I was 15, I made like $3,000 cash, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then,
isn't it crazy when you're young, you were like, oh man, I see the kids, I've heard them say it, they'll make some money or something. I'm rich. And they got like $200.
Yeah.
And they're like,
exactly.
They blow it in like an afternoon.
Yeah. And I think I hated, I worked for Chick-fil-A for like 10 months, and I just hated being told what to do and just having to show up and hit a button to clock in and clock out. I wanted to work like hard, but I just didn't want to, I don't know. I just didn't like that, doing the same thing over and over again. So got to school, and really that was a big exposure place for me, because where I was from, everybody looked the same. Everybody made the same amount of money. Twice a year, you'd go on vacation. You'd either go to Myrtle Beach or you'd go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And that was it. That's all I knew. So I wanted to travel. I wanted to meet people with different backgrounds, different income levels. And so that's what I did in college. It was an awesome experience. And I attribute a lot of my success. I was a tour guide on campus, so I got to speak to all different types of people. People would always laugh at my accent, and I don't think I have an accent, but obviously the UNC parents, I do. And, started another business in college. It was a waterless car wash business. We were washing cars while people shopped at shopping centers. And the university thought, I guess they thought we were like a comedy skit, because they loved us because we weren't trying to create some new technology. We were just being blue collar. We ended up going to a scrapyard and got a dented up hood, because people would always be like, how do you wash cars without water? It was pretty common at that time on the West Coast, but not on the East Coast. So we'd bring this hood in. We'd have bright yellow t-shirts on. And they ended up sending us all across the nation my junior year, pitching this business at like these Shark Tank type events. So into California, Texas, Atlanta, did a competition in Charlotte, and then 2 in Chapel Hill. And then one of those competitions introduced me to the Griffin Brothers family, which was a family office in Charlotte that was in a bunch of blue collar trades, tire and automotive, landfills, real estate. And they were recruiting me to come work for them. And then had one other offer to go work for a startup in San Francisco. And so I kind of was weighing, do I go stay in Charlotte? Do I go to Charlotte, which is close to my hometown? It was a better offer, better opportunity. Or do I do my dream, which was move out west, get into the technology sector? And I decided to move to Charlotte in 2016, went to work for this family, got super exposed. I was, getting to run like small M&A. And at the same time, I was also like the custodian. I was driving a limo. I was doing random stuff. And I was a private investigator at one point for an embezzlement case. I mean, just kind of like a barrage of experiences.
Talk about getting some experience.
Yeah. So I was an entrepreneur apprentice for one of the owners, Mike Griffin.
Oh, that's cool.
Partners of the business. So they had it's a 60-year-old family business. And every 2 years they bring in a young person who has entrepreneurial ambitions to work underneath Mike and he's got this apprentice program that's been going on since.
That's a pretty cool program.
Oh yeah. And I think it's been going on since like 2006 or so, 2008 maybe. So I was the third apprentice, and he's, I think now had like 6 or 7. I can't remember the number he's on.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, yeah, that's the story before the business. I worked for that family office for 2.5 years. I then left that family office, tried starting a software business because I had to scratch that itch. It was in the assisted living space. Couldn't get anybody to take the software for free, and we were bootstrapping the heck out of it. During that time, I drove across the United States by myself. I called it Couchella because I jumped from couch to couch to couch, and I didn't book a hotel.
Wow, that's cool.
Until I got home, it was like 9,300 miles, 28 days, 23 states, and got back home just in time for my buddy's wedding. And then April 1st, 2019 was like my first day as like a true entrepreneur. Like I'm a grown up. I got to make this thing successful. Worked all day, then went and played pickup basketball. I love basketball. So you get me in a good mood today because it's a good day. UNC's winning. So I got home. So I was like, I'm going to play basketball. So April 1st, 2019, having one of the better games I've ever played in my life. I don't think I could miss. Just doing everything right. And then somebody passed me the ball, jumped, caught it, blew my knee out, ACL, meniscus, MCL, ended up getting 2 blood clots, and then moved back in with my parents. That was pretty humbling. And then came back to Charlotte around June of 2019. And at that time I was like, you know what, I've lived like a millennial for 90 days. It's time to do something in my life.
There's a lot of people that never get out of that stage.
Yeah.
They're there in their parents' house until they're 40.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
but unfortunately I don't have my parents said, get your blank to blank out now. It's time to go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm almost I'm tired of taking care of you. Let's go. I was actually interviewing with like private equity type jobs at that time. And the Griffins knew I had the family office, which was the investment company was now called Zoom Up, that was investing in the guys my age, so 25 to 35-year-olds, to either start from scratch, invest into existing businesses, or acquire an existing business and place in the entrepreneur, similar to a search fund, the last part. And these are also, let's start a plumbing business. We know you like it. And I'm like, listen, I couldn't build Legos as a kid. If we're going to start this thing from scratch, like who in the heck are we going to partner with?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty long story, but I was driving Uber at the time to make some extra money just because I was so bored on a bum knee. And that's a story all to itself. But we finally found a guy, offer him a salary, offer him equity in this new venture, partnering with a 25-year-old who knows nothing about the business, has never managed one person. And this guy says, yeah, sure, I'm in. Well, I am quick to the trigger, ready, fire, aim kind of guy. And I go immediately and sell my car at CarMax to go get a company truck the next day because I'm ready to start tomorrow. Well, sell my car. The next morning, the guy calls me, backs out. So I'm like, Jesus. Yeah. So like 2 or 3 weeks roll by. I'm carless at this point, and in Charlotte, which is impossible to get around.
Oh yeah.
Ubering everywhere to get groceries, to go to dinner.
That gets expensive.
man.
I wasn't going on dates because I was not about to pick somebody up in an Uber. And so anyway, finally I get a call from one of their investment companies had a business partner in it. And he calls me and he's like, yo, Austin, I got you a guy. He's kind of redneck, but he's the guy. So I call him. We made it a Cracker Barrel. I can't make this up.
That doesn't sound redneck at all.
Yeah. So at Billy Graham on Billy Graham Parkway in Gastonia Charlotte line, which if you've ever been to Charlotte, it's right beside the airport. We're like having this conversation, and sure enough, he tells me like, man, I think I'm in. I mean, we had just met 30 minutes in, drinking a sweet tea, and I was like, all right. And then he pulls out, and he's a short little guy, pulls out this samurai looking knife out of his pocket. It was probably about this long, and it was about, you can't see, this long, swipes it out at me and says, if you ever cross me, I'll get you. And then he just laughed, smacked me on the back. And the next time I saw him, he was signing the proposal to work with us. And he was the perfect business. Yeah,
Awesome.
no, it was 3 times the size of that. It was a massive.
Oh,
knife.
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a samurai looking sword out of his pocket. So he was a perfect partner for me for 18 months. He's no longer with me and with the business. But in August of 2019, I had it down to 2 business names. It was either going to be Ease Plumbing or Whiz Plumbing, WHIZ. I'm a big believer in like flipping a coin. So I flipped the coin. It lands on Whiz Plumbing, and there was a guy standing there watching me. I was like, no chance I'm calling the business Whiz Plumbing.
Yeah, Whiz.
And so that's how the name Ease Plumbing started. And so, yeah, that's kind of the origin story. And then there's a whole other story about how we became NuBlue, but I'm sure you guys are going to ask me about that. But that's how I got into the trade and started the business, not knowing, didn't know what a crimp ring was, didn't know what a Street 45 was, I was relying on, they would send me, the early days of the business, they would actually send me the supply house with a list of stuff that did not exist. My technician, just for fun. And I had to stop going.
Sky hook. You got to get the sky hook and the board stretcher.
Yeah. Well, 50-gallon gas low boys is what they would always send me to go get. And so I stopped going to plumbing supply houses, and I started going to the old lady at Lowe's and said, hey, ma'am, can you help me? So I went too many times for me to count there, but
That's hilarious, dude.
Right.
That is funny. Oh man,
So how did you get connected with Service
I
Nation?
would have sent you there for all kinds of stuff.
the DIA had reached out to me. So the Speaker Exchange reached out to me to speak. So that's how I was connected with Service Nation. And we at NuBlue were looking already to join a group. And we explored other options, but we just couldn't make a decision. And some of these other groups are built to like sell your business. And that's not like really what we were looking to do. And so this kind of seemed like a perfect fit. We went down to my first event was actually the one in Orlando this past year. And so that's really how we were introduced. It's been I've only been introduced to Service Nation for probably 6 or 7 months now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So did you see our booth at the one in Orlando by chance?
I had to leave early, so I wasn't there for the trade booth
Expo.
sessions. Two of the other guys.
okay.
Two of the other guys may have.
You missed out. We had a massage therapist there.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, she was.
Oh yeah, we went all out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we had the white couches. It was decked out. We had some good traffic over there.
Yeah, we really did. But I do want to. I actually have a list of things that I do want to talk about as well. Not that anything you said isn't interesting. Before I do you have? Is it a single location or do y'all have multiple locations?
No, we technically have 4.
Okay, I thought I saw that.
So we have a Greenville, North Carolina office that does all 3 trades: electric, plumbing, HVAC. We have a Fayetteville branch that does electric and plumbing. We have a Lake Norman branch. Lake Norman is North Charlotte, that does all 3 trades. And then we have a South Charlotte branch that's just electrical. But we service all of Charlotte for heating and air and electric, and plumbing. But we just have like kind of satellite offices, and I can explain that because that's
the Lake Norman is that's where all the NASCAR drivers live, isn't it?
Yep. A lot of famous people live. Old football coaches. Yeah. Probably the most famous coach that lives at the lake is there's probably 2. It's Marty Schottenheimer, who's now his son is the head coach of the Cowboys.
Head coach of the Cowboys, yeah.
And then Joe Gibbs, who's won 2 or 3 Super Bowls. But Joe Gibbs racing too. So
sure.
Yeah. A lot of NASCAR, a lot of business professionals, and the more and more this time goes on, it's so many people from not North Carolina, which is kind of fun. But also, I'm a Carolina boy at heart. So.
Oh yeah, I think there's something about Carolina. It's almost like Texas. If you're from North Carolina, like you bleed that Tar Heel blue. Like,
well, it depends. I don't know. If you're real country, then you don't. You bleed East Carolina, NC State, or I always tell people I'm country, but I'm not redneck. So yeah. So
that purple and black or red or blue.
Yeah.
They're all very North Carolina.
No. It's I think that's the cool thing about the colleges in North Carolina are like people are super loyal. They wear the shirts. Where I've gone to schools in other states where it's like, dang, where's the
whatever? They didn't care about it. Yeah. Like
it's not like that in other parts of the country, unless you're in like the SEC world and some of those places are like that. But the college game is depends where you are.
Yeah,
it's very big. Certain places, other places, like we follow. Like for me, I was always a Badger fan because I lived in Wisconsin, but it wasn't like die hard. Like it wasn't a craze. Like I see how some of these guys are in Georgia, where Tersh is from and stuff, and like you guys are all freaking nuts.
Like Georgia,
you guys will chop your kid's arm off to win a bowl game.
Dude, they have Georgia Bulldog tattoos across their whole back. I'm like,
nah. That's too super fan for me, but yeah, it is. It is pretty funny how deep the fandom goes, and what people like, how divorces can go down if it's like a wife is a Duke fan and a husband's a UNC fan. Yeah, so it is rather interesting.
It is funny.
Yeah.
Hello, home service professionals. Do you want to maximize your marketing budget? Then you need to be using call tracking from CallRail. Let's say you noticed a spike in new leads this month. To find out what's driving them, you just log into your CallRail dashboard. Is my new Facebook ad outperforming my other ads? Or is paid search knocking it out of the park? Or maybe it's time to retire those newspaper ads. Since CallRail assigns a unique phone number to each of my marketing efforts, I know where my best leads come from and which efforts to scrap. CallRail shows you your most cost-effective marketing channels so you can get back to business.
go to callrail.com/SBMpod and try it for free.
So I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are about the Boston Education Summit and that in general, because is this the first time they've had this summit?
I believe so. Yes. I think, for me, I'm pretty pumped. I think for when we go to these events, I think it's great to, get sold some new product, but it's also like we go there to get educated and to hear from the main reason why we decided to sign up with Service Nation was because of the getting to hear other advice from people from all other parts of the markets and see what they're doing. And what I think too is pretty cool is that it doesn't matter if you have 6 employees or 60 or 600, that 6-man shop and woman shop could be doing something pretty amazing, spectacular. And they could be, I think, I was there, I met a family out of Oklahoma and then a family out of Arkansas. And I was like, wow, these are really special businesses. And they may do something that I'm like, wow, why don't we do that? I think that's probably the coolest part for me is that, what I always say in our business is like Austin Helms, Jimmy Geiler, Tim Nye, the names in our executive team, like we didn't build the business. Like it's our team and it's the people that have come and gone. Like those are the people that have built like the footprint of who we are. And I like to say that, that we are geniuses and we've gotten all these great ideas, but it's not us. It's just really just us listening to how other people are operating, not just in our industry and other industries.
It's amazing how much you learn from the networking side of things at those events. I mean, the education side is great. Don't get me wrong, but you get in there and you start like rubbing shoulders with people, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, like you said, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of doing something like that? And you don't necessarily get that as easily in a Facebook group as you would at the event.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that like the people that are in Service Nation are really friendly. So like I just recently had lunch with the owner of GSM, and he was super friendly. And we're in the same market. We're competitors, and so you don't see people being that open and nice and friendly. At the end of the day, we're block and tackle. He's HVAC only and does some electrical, and we're electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. But like we do the same thing. We want to make people happy and have a great team and make money. But like, I think it's when you have that cultural aspect, like at these events where it's like people are not like out to get anybody, I think that's pretty positive. And I felt like it was a very like friendly environment when I was there.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, that was something they added into Service World Expo last year that I don't think they've had in years prior when Tersh and I have been there, was the nighttime networking, like late, like early evening, late afternoon, where like everyone was in this like corridor.
Yeah.
And literally, like you turn around, it's like, oh, hey, someone else was talking. Like it was literally like just like I literally that 2 hours. I don't think I stopped talking for like the entire time. It just felt like I was just constantly talking to someone. Must have had 30 conversations.
That's the way it is. Every time I catch up somewhere, you're always talking. You'll be talking to the wall. Like, hey, Josh, who are you talking to? Oh, nobody. Just this wall over here.
Myself, or I'm cursing at Facebook or something.
That's funny.
So we mentioned that you're going to be either a keynote or they're going to have you on stage as like the one of the main presenters. What do you know what you're presenting on or what you're talking about? What's the basis of that?
Yeah, so it's going to be how we build our business model to scale, and then more on the lines of like what we learned. We grew. We've not acquired any business, and we went from 0 to give or take 20 million inside of 3.5 years. And it was all, well, you can say nice. I'm not saying nice yet. So it was all in our whole business plan built on investing into license holders who want to open their own location in other markets.
I like that. Yeah, I thought about that before.
Yeah,
I love that you've done it.
Yeah, we did it. And so like what I want to speak about is like pros and cons of expanding versus digging deep in the market that you exist in, and like who is the right candidate if you're going to expand. Are you willing to give up control? I mean, you got to imagine, as I shared before, like I started this business with 0 experience. So my trust level compared to other business owners in this space is tremendously more because I had to. It's not because I wanted to, but I had to trust every technician that came in the door. And I had to let go of a lot early if we were going to expand as fast as we did. And Jimmy could probably speak to this too, but we opened, from April of 2021 to January of 2023, we were in every major city in North Carolina. And that was with electric and plumbing. We did heating and air in one of those locations. It was insane how fast we were having ribbon cuttings like every other day almost. It felt like, and
How did you do, were you able to do that bootstrapping, or did you have some investment going on there?
Yeah. So we had that family that was investing in us. But the plumbing side, I mean, the businesses are good because they cash flow, but I had saved up a lot of money that we had made during those first year and a half, 2 years to grow. And then I tell folks, like, unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to say it, that first location we launched outside of Charlotte did really, really well. And
so I understand why you would say unfortunately, but can you share why you would say that?
Just because, I got as like a true sales business development person, I need a hint of proof that, like, hey, this can work. But, really I didn't self-reflect to say, why is this working? Like, why is it so successful? What is this person doing that's different? And the first location outside of Charlotte was a plumbing business. And plumbing, HVAC, and electric greenfielding are 3 different greenfields. They have 3 different ups and downs, 3 different ways you market. It's just, and we had no brand at that point. Nobody knew who we were. And, and competition matters too. Like, opening up a shop in Charlotte brand new is much different than going to, like, was one market we looked at, Florence, South Carolina. But the competition is just so much different. GLSA, Charlotte has probably 50 plumbers on it. Greenville at the time had like 3. So we were immediately on the top, and we didn't have to do anything. So we didn't.
So would you say it's better to go to somewhere that's rural like that, or is it better to go somewhere that has a large population? Because I've heard both ways.
I think it depends on the money you've got.
Yeah.
So if you can make, I will say this too, but you can make the business, as far as the basics of the business, can be just as profitable, if not more profitable, in smaller areas, because you've got less competition with your customers, but you also have way less competition with employers. And what we found in Greenville, none of the other trade contractors at that time were even offering benefits. So we walked in, we started offering healthcare, 401k match. No trade contractor there was doing that because they didn't have to. And so as soon as we offered that, it was like Katie bar the door. We could hire any technician we wanted. We were an alternative. We were young. I mean, 80% of our business still to this day is Gen Z or millennial. And so I don't know the one after Gen Z. I don't know if those folks are ready to work yet. But anyway, so we always stayed young. So, like, the unfortunate part of it is that I got a sniff, and that's all I needed. And we went from 2 locations to 8 locations inside of 18 months. And that was, so we had, and at that time we got to 5 locations. We had 2 CSRs because we'd opened these locations too fast, and we lost a CSR or 2. And then we had to hire, and that's another horror story, but we had to hire like a after hours call center to be like our call center. And that cost just went boop, 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 and it got insane. So operations weren't in place. Our marketing strategy wasn't in place.
So you grew too fast.
Way too fast. I like to say we expanded. We didn't grow up.
Gotcha.
So we expanded our footprint because now we've shut down markets that were not successful. We have 3 like cities, and we're doing just as much revenue and more profitable.
Now, how did that work?
You went deeper. You end up going deeper, versus just going wide.
Exactly.
How did that work with the? Because I assume that the other locations that you had closed down, you had brought on business partners, right? Like basically the ones that the license holders that you had given equity.
Thank you to Company Cam for supporting today's episode.
These guys are changing the game for contractors with their smart photo app.
Keep your projects documented and streamline your team's communication with even your most complicated jobs.
Try it for free for 14 days and get 25% off of your first 2 months at companycam.com/SBM.
Tersh, I want to talk about something that's a hot topic in the digital marketing space: missed calls. You were telling me the other day that you have a unique way of making sure 100% of your calls are answered. What the heck are you doing?
It's actually really cool. So, we always talk about AI and automation. Well, now I don't have to worry about missed calls anymore because we use Avoca.ai, and it's an AI voice agent. And every time a phone call comes in and say one of our CSRs are busy or even after hours, we've actually completely done away with after hours call center. Avoca picks up the phone and it announces that it's an AI agent. Her name's actually Sarah.
and she's really cool. And it's great because every time you get a conversation going, and that entire conversation is transcribed and gets sent to Slack, text message, or onto their dashboard. And then if some of the CRMs that you use and that we're using out there, actually, you can book the call through the CRM as well. So that's a really cool thing too. So, I mean, honestly, if anybody hasn't checked this out already, www.avoca.ai.
So, guys, if these problems are yours and you want to fix them, head over to www.avoca.ai and discover how they're helping service businesses like yours maximize every lead that you get.
No, they were just getting profit share interest. So it was not like hard equity. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if there was no operation there, they're not getting any profits anymore. And that's what I want to talk about too at the event, is that, we believe that there is there's going to be some kind of private equity type skip or bubble. You think about it, all these big roll-ups. There hasn't been
soon.
Yeah, there hasn't been a failure. And so you haven't seen one of these massive PEs just pop. And they just keep rolling businesses up. These are people. They're not technology. You can't optimize them. There's not robots doing these jobs just yet. I think that we want to be like, hey, you're the second, third, fourth, fifth guy. And that's what we've seen, these large roll-ups. Those guys usually, they get going because their pay changes. It's not like it once was, but these are quality technicians. And that's what we want as a NuBlue team. We want good tradesmen, like great at their craft. And that's what we focus on, is more on the quality side, because in the long term, that's what's going to win. So anyway, yeah, I think, we expanded too quickly, but also like we got to learn. I mean, I've probably gotten my MBA 15 times in this business history, and just on people, on marketing, rebranding a business. And then
what would you say? So if somebody was considering doing something like what you did, what's your immediate reaction to that?
It's all about the person. You can drop. So what we found is like what we thought, and I'm going to say this and you'll be like, Austin, you're an idiot. Why didn't you know that? But what we thought, because we thought, okay, we can just click, we can turn GLSA on. We can have a license holder.
The leads will come. Yeah.
We'll have the website. We'll have the Google business profile. We'll be good. This guy's a perfect guy. He's nice. He's good. We don't need to give him that much training, but we'll give a little. So that's what we thought. And what we found out was that the number one thing for expanding is the person needs to be local. Like, they have to be from that area, not live there for 3 years, not live there for 15 years, but they got to be deep rooted local. And then
family there.
Yes.
And the family hasn't tried killing each other. Like
Exactly.
they actually get along.
Well,
Yeah.
it's okay sometimes. Everybody needs a little spice, but
Sure. That adds to local drama.
oh yeah. You got to have something like that. So, but then the second piece is they just got to be respected in that trade. They don't have to be the best selling technician. They don't have to be the best wrench turner, but they have to be respected. And then if they don't have the first one, like if they're not from that area, they got to be a dog. Like, and they just got to be just ruthless, not ruthless like a bad way, but just like,
I know. Yeah.
but those guys, those technicians that are dog worthy, sometimes they're just going to go start the business on their own. Now, if we can find a dog that's got 3 kids and a needing wife and a high-ish burn rate, that's the guy.
Consistency.
Our whole business plan was built on like, you don't have to take the financial risk and you're going to get the upside, which what we should have done is done more like Chick-fil-A of like, hey, you got to give us $5,000.
Yeah, that's it.
10
Yeah,
grand.
exactly. Because I've actually done that, and I got burnt bad because he was a hustler, but he hustled me right out of work too.
Gotcha.
Because he had no cash flow and he had nothing to fall back on, and he was terrible with his finances.
Nothing holding him
to
the business, or nothing you could like dangle, be like, hey, remember this thing? You're not getting that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's expanding is good, but you have to be willing to give up. And if you're going to expand, you're either going to have to pay somebody a lot or give them a big carrot. There's no, if you're going to let the reins off, especially like our first market was 4.5 hours away from Charlotte.
Oh yeah, you can't.
We had to give them a big carrot.
That's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Has to be.
that's the location and market that's done really well for us. So, but we've got quality people from that area, respected in their trade and hard workers. And again, not that so in the markets that were not successful, because we still have some of those guys on our team. Sometimes it wasn't that they weren't respected in the trade, but it was just they were in a competitive market. We didn't have a marketing strategy, and they weren't from there, so they couldn't pull on like aunts and uncles and high school buddies and whatever it
Yeah.
may be. Like I get called all the time for people that I hadn't spoken to in 12 years, but they've seen my stuff on Facebook or whatever, just because they know me and like me.
Do you ever feel like a jaded kind of way that, hey, you haven't said anything to me in years, and now all of a sudden I got to stop what I'm doing and I need to take care of your air conditioning unit. Oh, by the way, you need a homeboy hookup and you want us to come out there this afternoon, and it's 4:30 in the afternoon already.
Well, I don't feel jaded because I do the same thing to people. So like if you're ever going to ask somebody for something and then
Yeah.
somebody calls you and you
Yeah.
don't do that for that person,
Oh yeah, no, I
then,
don't.
then like I've got a friend who she'd kill me if she knew I was telling this story, but I was cutting a pineapple the other night and just sliced through my finger, like
You-
dang near took it off, and I couldn't get it to stop bleeding. So she's
Oh,
an
yeah.
ER doctor. She shows up, she's doing her whole thing, and then she pretty much called me every name of the book that I was being soft. And you can imagine what she said. And she
Oh,
said,
yeah.
"Austin, I can't do anything for you. You need to go to the emergency room." Well, CMC Maine is the biggest hospital in North Carolina. It's ginormous. I mean, going to the emergency room there, you can just imagine.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I'm like, oh no. And it's like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night. She pretty much walks me in the door. They
Oh.
know who she is. I skip 45 people in line.
Yeah.
And
They
I
all
was
hate
like,
you.
yeah. So like, to me, that's the kind of, if somebody calls me, that's what I want. That's what I want them to feel and experience, that like, Austin has a lot going on, but who cares? He just said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure you're taken care of. It's like, I don't
That's
get
a
jaded.
great way to look at it. Yeah, I admire that. I think being in the industry for as long as I have has made me jaded towards certain
Yeah.
things. You know what I mean?
Hate life.
Well,
Hating
I
life.
just have to,
I'm just kidding.
I think you just have to realize that all people are crazy, a little bit. All people suck sometimes, and you
They
can't
got
make it
stuff going
happy.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you just accept those 3 facts and you just be like, all right, well, this guy's kind of crazy, but sure, I'll help him. And you never know what's gonna
True.
happen. But I attribute a lot of success, like I said, like to other people. And I don't know. I ask a lot of people. So my friends will call me and say, Austin, I didn't want to bother you. I'm like, no, call me.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Like, just
Now,
call me.
if you're a legit friend of mine and you don't call me, then I'm offended. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
I have
call
people
me.
call and they'll just call our office. I'm like,
Yeah.
you got my cell phone? Just text me. I'll make sure you get the white glove. It's like, well, I want to see what it's like without it. I'm like, all right, well,
Okay.
I don't like.
As long as you give me a report on what you found
Yeah,
out, that can
exactly.
be better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A little mystery shopping.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Before we go, I just want to give everybody an update. NC just smashed Notre Dame, so that's great. They won 76-56.
Yeah, that's good. They'll probably get smashed tomorrow by Wake Forest, but I'm staying pessimistic here.
As long as they smash Notre Dame, that's all I care about, because Notre Dame beat up on Georgia and football. So,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Jeez, you boys, man.
man, that's the SEC.
Let me know when the
ACC.
NFL season starts.
We ain't worried about none of that junk.
I see this thing over here that says, which of the 7 pillars have I struggled with the most during the journey? Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
For me, it's been trading growth for the financial part. So it's, I want to take the world over. I want to have a nationwide brand, but you have to you can't like explode organically, grow a business and then think you're going to be 30% bottom line or 20% or 15%. There is a little bit of trade-off there. And, I'm 30 years old. My timeline is tomorrow, not 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. And so I think that's kind of that's the hard part. And then, as a younger entrepreneur in this space, I try not to get clouded up with like these private equity roll-ups that you can either they'll float some crazy number at you, or they'll say like, or I'll see the success of like, oh, they just buy these businesses, they don't really do anything, and then they flip it and sell it and make money. And what did they do? Did they get in the ditch? Like, have they been in the crawl space? Have they been cussed out of the customer at their house? Like, and that's the part that I think is when you look at these businesses that are not selling to private equity, like there is like, I think there's going to be like you get like true joy and happiness when you keep those people. And like the people I've told, like, no, we're not selling the business. And like me standing on my word is really the only thing I've got. And I told people, I was like, what if we sold this business, what the heck am I going to do? Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to say, all right,
let's start something else.
Yeah, let's go do it again. And so I think that's probably the hardest part is like, the HR, the leadership. I love that part of it. I love trying to, find people, like put the right people in the right seat. And Austin Helms is not your customer service manager. I am not your COO. I am your run as fast as I can and
keep up
ideas and do it again. And I won't get mad if you tell me it's terrible, because I'm just going to think of 12 more. So, but I think that.
Has that been your whole life like that, or did you have to develop that like thick skin?
Oh no, I was a basketball player that was 6 foot, couldn't touch the rim. I think it's just been my mom tells me my first itch of competitiveness is when I was 4 years old and the girl across the street read before me. And I grabbed my mom, she says, and I told her that she was going to teach me how to read, and I was going to read faster than the girl across the street was always smarter than me. But I said, I'm going to make sure it happens. But I did get her. I think I was like 7. I got in a whole bunch of trouble. But I had one of those little tiny cars, the RC, the battery operated, and rammed her into the tree. So, yeah, I was a little dirty.
You could take her out if you couldn't beat her.
Yeah. But anyway, small
Are you
world.
Still friends with her?
Yeah, she hired me to do a benefit auction for one of her events. So that was kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool. Yeah. Talk about staying in.
She didn't hate you too much.
No.
That's
funny. But
cool, man. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us for real. And I look forward to hearing, everything that you talk about on stage too, at the summit in Boston. That's called that. I want to make sure I call it the right thing.
I think it's the Boston Education Summit.
Yeah, that's it. So with that being said, I really appreciate you hanging out with us. We will make sure that we link that summit in the show notes as well.
Awesome.
But Josh, do you have anything else before we wrap things up?
No, it's a great conversation. It was awesome chatting with you, Austin. I'm sure based on your personality and what we learned today, you're going to have a good time on stage and kill it in Boston.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be real. I lost my grandma, who was like one of my best friends on Saturday. And so I probably will tell some of her, some of her PG jokes on stage. So
I think you should do the PG-13 or R-rated ones.
I might get booed off stage. My family's I'm speaking at her funeral.
You got to remember, we're talking to contractors here. They probably love that stuff. They probably eat it up.
She was a nurse for 42 years, and like every joke she heard, she told her 10-year-old grandson. Oh,
that's awesome.
Got me a lot of trouble growing up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool, dude. I'm sorry about your loss.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy. All right, guys. If you have any questions at all for anything that we've talked about, we'll put the links in show notes. If you have any questions for Austin, reach out to him. He's on LinkedIn. And we appreciate you hanging out with us, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. We'll see you.
Thanks, Austin.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.